Well, hello everybody and happy Wednesday to all of you. I hope that you're having a great Wednesday. We've been actually having a really busy one here for sure because today is Tweet Chat Day. Wednesdays are the day that we have our very, very large tweet chats. And today's discussion, actually, Kathy and Dr. Will came and had a discussion about edutainment, which I hesitated there for a moment, but edutainment, which is a concept of including education with entertainment and the importance of doing so when you do discussions, when you do seminars, when you speak to the public, when you're building your brand on social media. And it was a very, very interesting and very, very helpful and advice and tip driven chat. So for those of you who think, oh, that's a interesting topic, I'd like to learn more as I'm building my brand and my business, I would just want to make sure to put that on your radar. You can actually really easily go to Twitter, do a hashtag search for Winnie's son, and you'll see all of the conversations that we had today. And of course, we're going to have a recap as well, but hopefully that continues to bring you value as you build out your business. Now let's segue over to the financial markets and see what is happening. Well, this is not going to come to a surprise for you, I don't think, because it seems like the common thing we've been having since late last week and this week as well. Once again, the financial markets, the stock market continues to surprise us, continues to do very, very well. The Dow closed up 373 points and the NASDAQ joined up 57 points. Interesting enough, as you may have known, gold has already surpassed $2,000, that $2,000 mark, which is usually a bearish sign. And yet the financial markets, the stock market, the Dow, the NASDAQ continue to roar. So a lot of things to talk about, but more importantly, those of you who are currently invested in your IRAs, your 401ks, your pension and whatnot, you're probably looking at your financial statements and again, feeling a little bit more comfortable and a little bit less worried, even given all that's happening with the pandemic and everything else. So thank you all so much for those of you who joined. Many of you I know joined me this morning on my appearance at Digital Trends, talking about once again the stimulus package and where we are on that. So today we're definitely going to talk about that because today, as you know, Wednesdays are really special. Wednesdays are the day that we actually answer all the questions that you submitted and sent in throughout the week. And we've got some great questions. So those of you who are attending and watching today for the first time or maybe second or third time, and you're like, oh, I should have sent in a question. Don't worry. Go ahead and send in a question, or you can even actually just tweet a question, put it in comments, and we will get to them and we'll add them to our list for next week. So these are the questions that we have had this week, and there were a lot of them and really good ones. And I think these are actually going to help you quite a bit. So we're going to start with the first one. And the first one came from us from Twitter. And the question is it a good thing to have more than one retirement besides a work one? Now, I'm going to make the assumption that what you're talking about is a retirement plan at work. So for example, a 401k or a 403b, depending on what type of company you're working for. So is it good to have more than one retirement? Well, that is a great question. I think we would agree that the most important thing when you're saving for a big goal, like retirement savings, is to have the means to put aside money consistently, right? And as much as possible without changing your financial lifestyle, meaning not forcing you to go into debt, putting on credit card debt, not feeling like you're without. You want to make sure that you have enough to get you to the future in a comfortable way. So if you are currently invested in a 401k, then wonderful. But if you feel like you want to add to that and do an additional add, actually, a lot of my clients are in this situation. So a lot of my clients currently already contribute to their 401k plans. And they're, as you can imagine, they're very, very hardworking. A lot of them like literally working 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. But a lot of them also have other sources of income or savings, and they're looking to shelter more taxes for their future retirement needs. So they would often pair a 401k plan or a 403b plan with another retirement account, such as an IRA, which could be a traditional IRA or could be a Roth IRA. There's also situations where you could be you might have your regular 9 to 5, like a regular job where you would be receiving your 401k, but you might have a side hustle, right? That's really popular now. A lot of people have these side companies or side businesses, or they might do some consulting on the side as a 1099 or a subcontractor. Well, in that case, you could actually have a 401k plan for your 9 to 5. And you could also have a SEP IRA for your self-employed entity. And you can also have an additional IRA on top of that for yourself. And the reason that is a 401k is typically a company-sponsored plan or 403b. So it depends on what kind of company you work for. So your 401k would be sponsored by your 9 to 5 job if you're an employee. Then your SEP IRA or something similar to that, could even be a one-person 401k, would be from your self-employed entity, or if you have your own consulting work, or maybe you do some creative work on the side, that could be that. And then you could still have an IRA or a Roth IRA. Now, as you know, an IRA stands for individual retirement account, and a Roth IRA is just a different flavor of IRA, of an individual retirement account. So a Roth, as you know, is where you put in monies that are already fully taxed, so after tax dollars, and then that money, if you save it and keep it invested post age 59 and a half, then that entire account will grow to be 100% tax-free if used for future needs. Now, the traditional IRA is oftentimes either pre-tax or it could be after tax, depending on how much you currently earn, and then that will grow tax-sheltered, and then again, post 59 and a half, when you take out monies, then you'll have to pay taxes on, your gains of that portfolio. Still a great thing if you find yourself not being able to contribute to a Roth IRA, but always keep in mind, if you are in that situation where your income is higher and you're contributing to a traditional IRA, you might have the option to do a Roth IRA conversion. So I would suggest, if you're thinking, especially for my friend who submitted that question to us, if you are in that situation where you're able to contribute both to our 401k as well as an IRA or even something else, and you're wondering whether or not you should do that and what type you should do, I think it's always a good idea to do a little bit of research. And it doesn't hurt to talk to your accountant if you have one. Or I know there's some great resources online that help with this too. And also see about piggybacking an additional IRA on top of that. It's a really great thing on the years that you're able to do it. And the great thing is you don't actually have to do that each and every year. If you have more money one year, you could do it. And on a year that you can't, or you're a little bit more strapped in terms of money, you can just decide not to contribute to either 401k or IRA. So both of them are really flexible and a great way to see both of them as well. And I want to add to that too, because a lot of times, like for example, I'm actually doing a speech tomorrow to a group at NBC. And oftentimes I'll get the question whenever I speak at different companies, their employees, and they'll say like, Winnie, should I actually contribute more to my 401k than what the company is matching? And the answer is, it depends. In most cases, the answer is yes. If you can financially afford to contribute more than what the company is matching, then you should, because you are, again, saving your money for your future retirement needs. And as we know, most Americans don't have enough saved up before they're retired. And we really want you to be in a situation where that's not you, right? That you have money to save up for retirement. Now, that being said, there was also a recent article that you may have seen being shared all over social media saying that the 401k wasn't quite as valuable as it used to be in the 1980s because of the tax treatment and the current tax levels. Now, I will tell you though, given that how much this pandemic is costing Americans, I think you're going to find the 401k to be much more valuable than it ever was. And not only that, for those of you who are currently still employed and you have more than 10 years between now and retirement, I highly recommend that you take a look at the Roth 401k and try adding to that versus the traditional 401k for this reason. Because I think we would agree I think all of us would agree, if you just think about this a little bit, that more than likely taxes are going higher, because given how much we're borrowing, given how much we're spending, I mean, when I say we, I mean the government, for this pandemic coronavirus efforts, this is costing us a lot of money, and the government a lot of money, which is really from taxpayers. So if we agree that it's costing a lot of money, and number two, we agree that money doesn't grow on trees, which I'm pretty sure it still doesn't, then we would agree that taxes are going to be higher in the future. So we would be better off paying our taxes upfront, which would be either your Roth 401k or your Roth IRA, paying the taxes upfront at their current levels, which is right now, and letting those monies grow tax-free. All right. So I hope you heard that. And if you have any questions on that, you can always send questions in to me. That's why we're getting so many questions from you on that. So feel free to send me questions if you're not sure about that, or if you want clarification. All right. So our next question is going to be, do you think I should stop investing in my 401k? I read that it's not really that good for you. So I think the question stems from the article we were just talking about whether or not the 401k was still good for you, right? There was a whole discussion recently about the change of taxes, and that back in the 1980s, when we were taxed a lot higher, then the 401k had more of a compelling benefit. But now that taxes are lower, maybe the 401k isn't quite as beneficial for you. So we talked about the importance of thinking that way. I'm glad that we have these discussions, because there are a lot of reasons to be saving in a 401k, and I'll give you some of those reasons. Like, number one, what I love about the 401k is it automates your savings. So every 2 weeks, whenever you get a paycheck, a portion of your paycheck just goes directly into that 401k. So it's sort of that set it and forget it saving strategy. So it just continues to save for you for the future. But that being said, remember the 401k comes in two types. There's a traditional 401k, which is where your money goes from your paycheck directly into the 401k pre-tax. But then when you then withdraw that money later on in retirement years, you're going to have to pay taxes on those gains. Okay. And then the second type of 401k is a Roth 401k, where you don't go in pre-tax. So it's just like having money hit your checking account. You've already had taxes withheld by your employer, and then money would then go to your Roth 401k. So it's after tax dollars. But if you again save that money for the future, for your future retirement needs at age 59 and a half and beyond, 100% of those proceeds later on in retirement are yours. And I love that, because given the fact that we're spending so much on the pandemic today, paying taxes on, let's just say easy numbers. Let's say you're paying $2,000. You put $2,000 into your 401k today. That means you've already paid taxes on that $2,000. And let's say you're 35 years old, right? And you've got at least maybe 25, 30 years until retirement age, right? Of the 59 and a half age. So all those years, your money will grow tax-free. So if you're properly invested and you make sure that you're diversified and you have a really strong saving strategy, there's a really high likelihood that your 2,000 will grow to a lot more come post-retirement age. And the great thing is, when you then take your distribution or your money's out of your Roth 401k, the whole thing's yours, which I love. I love having the whole thing be yours, because I feel like, that's a great way to be really strategic given the current situations that we're in, given how taxes are likely to go higher. This is a great strategy for you to be aware of, and maybe to take action, especially those of you who still have our 401k and are still working, right? All right. Next question. Let's go, which is, I have my old 401k at my last employer. Should I just keep it here? I'm thinking of cashing it out. All right. So this is a question we're getting a lot of. In fact, some of our some of our clients have asked us this question. It's like, you might have changed jobs through the years, right? And you might have an old 401k somewhere saved up, and maybe you don't even remember where it is, and you're not even sure what it's invested in anymore. Should you cash that out? So that's a great question. So given that this year we're going through a pandemic, and we know there's record levels of economic stress and financial stress on a lot of people, this is something you're probably going to hear more of, and you're probably wondering the same thing if this isn't your question. But here's the thing. If you have an old 401k, you do have a lot of options. Obviously, because of the CARES Act, even if you're under the age of 59 and a half, you can actually take out $100,000 from your 401k, whether it be an old 401k or a 401k that you're still contributing to, and have that without being hit with that 10% early withdrawal penalty. Now, like if you don't pay yourself back within a set amount of time for your 401k, then it's not treated as a loan. Then it's like you taking money out of your 401k, then that penalty will go away, but you're still going to owe taxes on that money if there's any gains on that money. So just be aware of that. That's a big thing. But what you could do is, if you're even thinking about whether or not to cash out, what you could do to buy yourself some time is, number one, you could actually just take a look at where you're currently invested in that old 401k, and see if you can better those investment choices given the choices that are available through that old 401k. And so you want to just reach out to find a statement, call the phone number on the statement, and ask them to send you a list of all the 401k fund choices that you have, and then go through that and see if you can build yourself a better, more appropriate portfolio given the situation that you're in right now. Now, if that isn't an option and you're like, I don't even know who manages it anymore, I don't feel comfortable with my money being there, or it could be, I've heard a lot of recently, I just hate my employer, I want to move my money. That's fine too. You have options there too. You could, if you don't want to leave the money there, you could roll it into an IRA rollover. Now, there are certain considerations before doing that. So I highly suggest you reach out to a financial advisor like myself to kind of help you with that decision, or talk to an advisor that you trust. And also, make sure that you're mindful of any tax consequences too. So if you're doing a rollover from your 401k to your IRA, there's no tax consequences. That's good. But if you cash out of your 401k and you're under the age of 59 and a half, be wary that, obviously taxes could take place if it's a traditional 401k or even a Roth 401k, depending on your age. And then, and of course, any penalties that take place. But with the CARES Act right now, a lot of those penalties are being lifted for us. So those are things you want to be paying attention to. All right. So, but cashing out, if it's a last resort, then that it is what it is. But in most cases, I would prefer you not to cash out from your 401k, because like we mentioned earlier, most of us don't have enough saved for our future retirement needs. So because your money is in a tax sheltered sort of account, that's actually a really good thing. So you kind of want to try and do that as much as you can. Okay, try to keep your monies in the tax sheltered as long as you can. Even though the CARES Act says that you can take out money from a tax shelter, absolutely see that as a last resort if you can. I would actually even position taking from a home equity line of credit before I would pull from a 401k. But that's another subject for another day. All right, let's see. More questions. Another good question. Here's a question. I think many of you might be able to relate to this, and that is, I have no business now. All my clients left because of the pandemic. Do you think the government will send us another stimulus check? All right, great question. Now, for some of you, and I know are certainly struggling. In fact, I know many people in hospitality and travel industry, restaurant industry, almost across the board, retailers, so many of us are struggling right now. And I think many people can relate to like not having clients or customers right now like they used to just 5-6 months ago. Will there be another check? I actually think absolutely there will be another check. We do know that the government is currently discussing what the check will look like. That $1,200 stimulus check that we saw from the first round, I think that is going to continue. There was talks just a couple weeks ago that might be decreased to $1,000 per person for those who earn less than $75,000 a year. However, I think that they continue to have more discussions now. It looks like it's going to be a solid $1,200. We won't know, of course, until it's fully decided and is signed off on. But my prediction is we will continue to have that $1,200 one more round for those that earn less than $75,000 and married couples that earn less than $150,000. Actually, if you remember, it was almost about a month ago. Republicans were saying that they wanted to only allow those who earned less than $40,000 a check of $1,200, and I didn't think that was fair. But I'm glad to see that. I think, given even just today's discussions, I've been following it very closely. That looks like it'll be $1,200. So I think we're going to see that being announced hopefully by this Friday, because this Friday is a very important day, because this Friday is the last day many members of the Senate and House will be in Washington, D.C., because they're about to go on their fall recess. And I actually think that they should be kept in government until the deal is done. No recess unless there's a deal. I think a lot of Americans need some closure, and given the unprecedented times that we're in, the more clarity we can provide Americans, the better, right? Okay, so great question. In fact, I'm going to add to that question, because one thing that you didn't ask that I think we should talk about is there's a lot of talk about dependent stimulus checks too, right? So like, for example, let's say you have dependents at home, whether it be children or adults or whatnot. We know the last round in the CARES Act, they actually only gave $500 checks to dependents of adults who qualify for the $75,000 or less income level for dependents up to the age of 17, which left out a lot of people. So, for example, like adults or senior citizen dependents, they were all eliminated. So it looks like we should have some more news on that in the coming days as well. But that's something we'll really pay attention to. All right, next question. That was a great question. Thank you for asking that. We've been hearing a lot of that. The next question is, people at work are saying that there will be layoffs soon. What should I do to prepare? Okay. Now, I hear you. In fact, I think there was a talk just this week that over 35 businesses have already said they are completely shut down and they will not be coming back. And we continue to hear a lot of retailers. In fact, you may have heard Ann Taylor, Pier 1, goodness, I know Soup Plantation, a number of companies have completely shut down and announced that they are not coming back. And we might be hearing more of this, but even if the company is coming back or it continues to be in existence, it doesn't mean that they're not doing layoffs. And in fact, we've seen layoffs almost across the board at many, many different companies. And that's actually why we created the Facebook group called Layoff Library, for some of the resources for you to have. But layoffs will continue. We anticipate them to continue. And you're hearing this at your workplace. So the question is, how should I, or what should I do to prepare? Okay, there's a couple different things that you should do to prepare. Number one, if you think that this is going to happen, you really, really want to have clarity on where you stand financially, because irregardless of when your employer decides to let you go, you need to make sure that you're okay. So the first thing I would do is to take a look at your spending. Now, an area that you want to do is you want to make sure you know what monies are coming into your account, but also what monies are going out. And the going out is probably your most important thing to do right now. You want to go and make sure your budget's intact. So you've heard me talk about this before, but you can actually go to mybudgetworksheet.com and download a free budget worksheet. You want to go through that process of putting together all the spending that you have coming out of your budget and get clarity. This is a great exercise to do, especially given that you're hearing about layoffs, because it will help you quantify exactly what money is going out of your account. And then from there, start to chip away the things that you don't need, that you don't absolutely need. Now, the things that I think you absolutely need are, number one, shelter, whether it be rent or your mortgage. Number two, groceries. And number three, medication. Right? Anything else that you can afford, then great. But those are the things you absolutely must have. The next thing you want to do is to take a look at your 401k if you have one at work, because now your timeline of investing timeline could be considerably reduced, because many of us are investing in our 401k based on sort of long-term goals. You know, like a lot of 401k providers will even give you these things called age-based or years to retirement model, like, you know, set portfolios, kind of like those, you know, okay, I'll take that because it says I'll retire in 30 years. I'll invest in that. And then what happens is then you have an investment management team that sort of monitors and adjusts that investment. Well, that's appropriate for some of you, perhaps if you're still working and you have really steady income and you feel really confident that no big changes are going to happen between now and when you're about to retire. But if there's rumblings at work that you might get laid off, instead of investing for 20 years, you might now only be investing for the next few weeks. If that's the case, you should really take a look at your 401k allocation, right? How much you're invested in growth, how much in technology, how much in value, how much in international, and really pare that risk down and talk to a financial professional about helping you through this process. I mean, we're doing this actively with many of our clients and brand new clients as well. This is an exercise you should be doing because the two things that are most important when you're investing is number one, your duration, how long you're able to invest, right? Your time horizon. You often hear them talk about it as a time horizon. And then your second thing is your risk tolerance, right? How you feel about risk. So your time horizon, if your time horizon was 30 years and now it goes a few weeks, I think we would agree that our risk is tremendously different now. The other thing is how you feel about the markets, because oftentimes you might be like, well, I'm really optimistic. I'm only in my 20s or my 30s or my 40s, and I've got all these years until retirement. I understand. I'm good. I'm not going to touch it if it drops. Well, what if, hypothetically, you get notified that you're going to be laid off, right? And hypothetically, the market starts to correct dramatically. How are you going to feel about that? If you're going to be in a bad situation, stressed out on top of being unemployed, then you really should reach out. These are conversations that we're actively having with clients now. And, if nothing else, find someone that's smart with finances and investing and have a conversation. But I highly recommend seeking out a financial advisor who's trained to do this. And that will be, I think that you'll find it to be very, very helpful. Then the next thing you want to do is prepare your network. Make sure you update your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you connect with all your colleagues and contacts through your work. Make sure you have their information, their email, their phone number if you need to reach out to them for references. And really, start to think about building up a profile of yourself on social media so that you'll make yourself more findable for future business relationships, business potential employers, potential business contacts, whatever that may be. Think about that. So those are the three big things I would tell you. The other things like, obviously seeking out a financial advisor to work with you as you go through that transition is always a really smart thing. And that's what we've done with our clients for many, many years. The other thing is obviously notify your accountant, or if you do your own taxes, just to be mindful that there could be taxable consequences as well. And then obviously go to your employer now and get inventory of everything that you own, your 401k, your pension, your stock options, whatever that may be. Make sure you know exactly what you have with your employer so that you are informed in case that change does occur. And there's a lot of other things, but those are my top few tips for you first. And if you have any questions, again, always send them in and I'll do my best to add to that for you. All right. Next question. Do you think my child who is in college will get a stimulus check this next round? It seems unfair that she wasn't included last time because she's 19 years old. All right, great question. So we know from the previous round of stimulus funding that those dependents that were under the age of 17 actually did not get that $500 stimulus check. And I agree with you. I think that was certainly incorrect. I think they should have included all dependents, regardless of age, because we do know that every family situation is so different. And there's certainly many of us who have dependents that don't fall under the age of 17. So it looks like that our government leaders did learn from that previous round, and all indications does show that dependents should be included that are over the age of 17. So your 19-year-old daughter should be included this round, as well as if you have let's say parents or grandparents that you're caring for, or other, dependents that just don't fall into that. And they're even saying this round, one of the things that was interesting too is last round, if you were married to someone who wasn't a U.S. citizen, you may or may not have received a check as well. And I think they're being really proactive and trying to be more inclusive. The Democrats are certainly encouraging for the Republicans to try to include more people in this round of stimulus benefits. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. All right. Next question is, am I too late to apply for a PPP loan? All right. Those of you who are thinking about a PPP loan are probably small or mid or large size businesses and wondering if that deadline has passed. Now, so I really want to put this time on your radar. So it has not passed. In fact, it's this Saturday, August 8th is the deadline. So if you find yourself wanting to apply for a payroll protection loan, you should certainly reach out to your local bank, personal bank or business bank, and see if they can help you with that application, because you still are able to do that. I would certainly try to just get on the phone and call some banks right now, because a lot of banks, even those that you're not currently banking with, are still accepting applications until this Saturday. So if you're even thinking about doing that, I would reach out and find out the terms, find out how long the process is, and try and get yourself a loan. So you definitely want to apply before that deadline if you're considering it. And for many of you, you might be thinking, well, I already have a loan currently with the last package, and is there going to be another loan? And so that's still being fleshed out by our politicians currently. But if you remember, the HEROES Act, which passed the House, that was introduced by the Democrats, did actually include a second round of PPP loans available for those who even though you apply for the first loan, you would still be able to apply for a second loan if your business experienced tremendous detrimental loss because of the pandemic. So we'll see how that goes. Again, more things to be paying attention to for sure. All right, next question is, do you think my company will actually get a payroll tax holiday? All right, great question. So payroll tax holiday, you've heard the president talk about this. What is it? Will it happen? And what does it look like? So originally the president had said that he wouldn't sign a next round of stimulus assistance for Americans unless it included a payroll tax holiday. Now, a payroll tax, as you remember, is a tax that's shared between an employer and an employee. Okay, so every time an employer pays out, an employer receives income, they each pay for some of that payroll tax. Now, the president says that he definitely wants a payroll tax holiday. He thinks both employees and employers will benefit from that, obviously, because you're not paying less taxes. That it certainly is a benefit. But that being said, by doing a payroll tax holiday, the reason why the other politicians say we can't do that is because the payroll tax is where most of the Social Security benefits get paid from in the future. So if you're collecting less payroll tax today, that means more Americans in the future are probably going to see either their Social Security benefits decrease, or the age eligibility to be able to start receiving Social Security benefits could be extended. That means you might have to be older before being able to receive some Social Security benefits. So given those considerations, and the fact that those who are currently employed or able to pay for employees aren't the Americans that are most at financial risk, right? Because those who are unemployed actually need the money more than those who are actually earning money. So the parties are debating whether or not the payroll tax holiday will come into place. But I will tell you that's actually, I thought that the discussion was actually put to the side and it wouldn't be part of this package. But I actually did read in the last 2 days that the payroll tax holiday being brought up. So and bring reinitiate to trying to get in this package. So we'll see. And if I hear more, I'll certainly let you know. But those are the pros and cons of the payroll tax holiday. So I'm not sure how you feel about that now, but that is exactly what's being discussed right now. That is what they call the payroll tax holiday, and whether or not that'll be part of the stimulus is yet to see. But I do think from my standpoint, that's sort of a neutral topic. I don't feel very strongly that we should have a payroll tax holiday, but I can understand and be empathetic for those who do feel like they would like a payroll tax holiday. So That's where that is. The other thing is, before we wrap up, I wanted to also share with you an article that a write-up that came this week from my friends at LPL Financial. Actually, you may have seen me share this on social media yesterday. It was an article that came out, a write-up. You see, LPL Financial is one of the largest financial firms in the country. In fact, our company clears through them. And they said, it's very interesting. And just based on the financial markets, which candidate will reign supreme, right? Which candidate will President Trump be reelected? Will Joe Biden be elected? Based on the chart and based on historical numbers, they said typically, if the financial stock market continues to do very well up until the election, then historically speaking, most of the time the incumbent, the existing president, is reelected. Now, if we go into the election into November 3rd, and historically, if the markets don't perform well and you continue to have difficult stock market showing of the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, if you continue to see negative numbers up into the market, then historically that suggested that the competing, or in this case, Joe Biden, would then be elected to be president. So very, very hard to say. Obviously, very, very nerve-wracking data. Who knows what's going to happen? But that is based on history, what has happened. And these are conversations that we're having with our clients and whatnot, just to prepare ourselves. We don't know who's going to be elected. And I'm sure you probably have a strong opinion on which way you like to see it occur. However, that being said, I'm a financial advisor. We're looking at it from a financial standpoint. These are things that you want to be mindful of and paying attention to, because as we know, who gets elected can have a tremendous impact on our life, our livelihood, that of our children and our loved ones, as well as our financial situation as well. So a lot of things to consider, and I just want to share that with you because I thought it was very, very interesting. Now, thank you so much for those of you who submitted questions to me this week. I want to invite all of you to submit questions for next week. We're going to do this again next Wednesday. So submit your financial questions. You're able to submit them, as you can see. In this case, I don't include your names in this. So totally anonymous. You can feel safe to be able to do so. Send in your questions, either direct message, or you can just publicly put it in the comments on anything that you're seeing, or you can just tweet me, or easy. Submit a question. I'll add them to the list. My team and I are collecting them all through the way, and we want to make sure that we get your questions answered. And most importantly, do know I'm actually putting together content on the stimulus as much as we possibly can, anytime something new comes into that. So if you want to, I would invite you to jump on YouTube and follow us on Winnie Sun TV and subscribe to the channel, set up alerts, because anytime something new, interesting, important, I think that you need to know about the stimulus check, the next round of stimulus funding, government changes, taxes, all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and create quick videos, get them updated, and put them up on that channel. So it becomes almost a library of information that's really topical, important to you and your loved ones and your business right now. So thank you so much for those of you who are tuning in. As always, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you found this valuable. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have an incredible week, and I'll join you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be coming live to you again after my discussions and presentation for my friends at NBC Universal tomorrow. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be a great day, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you again. And hopefully, we will get more information on what this stimulus will look like. As you know, we are on stimulus wash right now. Take care and have a great day, and stay safe. Bye-bye now.